Welcome back to No Safe Ending Stories. This is part 2 of Sora and Junho's story, an Afro-Korean soul romance about debt, control, and the dangerous moment when refusing a powerful man only makes him look closer. Because Junho thought clearing her debt would make Sora come closer. He was wrong. He cleared her debt, and she still walked away. 23 million won. Gone. Just like that. The men outside her door? Also gone. Because of him. She asked his name. Junho. That was it. No explanation. No effort. Like she was supposed to understand. She didn't. So she closed the door. Right in front of him. No hesitation. No thank you. Nothing. 3 seconds. He didn't move. Not because he was confused, but because something in him had just shifted. And he didn't like that. So he left. And behind that door, Sora slid down against the wall, her hands still gripping her keys. One pointed outward, like a weapon she never used. She whispered his name once. Junho. It didn't sound like a name. It sounded like a problem. A dangerous one. And she had just refused him. She should have been relieved. Anyone else would have been. Debt gone. Problem solved. End of story. Except it didn't feel like the end. It felt like something had just started. The next morning she didn't go to work. She called Gina. Gina didn't ask questions. AMBW. 20 minutes. She was there in 14. Gina. The only person in Sora's life who didn't need explanations, because she always knew when something was wrong. They had met their first year teaching. Same school. Same break room. Same broken coffee machine. They disagreed about everything. They became inseparable anyway. Sora felt first. Gina thought first. Sora saw beauty. Gina saw consequences. Between them, they survived the world. When Sora's mother died, Gina didn't comfort her. She took control. She made the calls. Handled the logistics. Stayed. And at the funeral, she showed up wearing the white ribbon and the mourning armband. Not as a friend. As family. No one said anything. Because everyone understood. Sora didn't have a father. Didn't have a brother. Those spaces were empty. So Gina filled them. Without asking. Without permission. Just like she always did. At AMBW, Sora told her everything. Gina didn't interrupt. Didn't react. Didn't soften it. When Sora finished, Gina leaned back. He sent the men first. Yes. And then he saved you. Yes. Pause. That's not kindness. Sora didn't answer. That's control. Still nothing. Men like that don't help. A beat. They invest. Sora finally looked up. I'm not letting him buy me. Gina held her gaze. Good. Pause. So what are you going to do about it? Silence. And for the first time, Sora didn't have an answer. She didn't answer. Not because she didn't know what to do. Because every option felt like a mistake. Gina watched her. Didn't rush her. Didn't fill the silence. She never did. You're going to see him again, she said finally. Not a question. Sora didn't deny it. I have to, she said. Gina nodded once. Of course. That made sense. Then don't go alone. Sora almost smiled. Almost. You think I can bring you to a meeting like that? Gina didn't smile. I think you don't know what kind of man he is yet. Pause. And that's exactly why you shouldn't go alone. Sora looked at her. Really looked at her. Gina wasn't scared. She was assessing. Like she always did. Okay, Sora said. It wasn't agreement. Not really. But it was enough. The building didn't look like anything. That was the first thing Sora noticed. No sign outside. No logo. Just glass. Steel. And silence. The kind of place you could walk past 100 times. Without ever seeing it. Until you were told to. Inside. Everything was clean. Too clean. The kind of clean. That wasn't about hygiene. It was about control. The receptionist didn't smile. She acknowledged them. That was it. Miss O, she said, already knowing. Sora nodded. Gina didn't. She was looking around. Not openly. But enough. Counting exits. noticing cameras, the way people moved. Please wait. They sat. No music, no small talk, no distractions, just time, stretching. Gina leaned slightly toward her. He knew you were coming. Sora didn't look at her. I told him I would. Gina shook her head. No. A beat. He knew before that. Sora didn't answer, because a part of her had thought the same thing. The door opened. Not Juno. Another man. Tall. Impeccable. The kind of presence that didn't need to raise its voice. He smiled. Easily. Miss O. His gaze shifted. Landed on Gina. Paused. Not long. Just enough. And you must be the reason she didn't come alone. Gina didn't smile. You're not him, she said. Something in his expression changed. Not offended. Not surprised. Amused. No, he said. I'm the one who makes sure things run smoothly. Pause. Hyunwoo. Gina didn't give her name. Sora did. Lee Gina. Hyunwoo nodded. Like he'd already filed it somewhere. Juno will be with you shortly. Shortly. The word lingered, because nothing about this place felt short or simple. He turned to leave, then stopped, looked back at Sora. Just so you know. A small pause. He doesn't usually do this. Do what? She asked. Hyunwoo's smile softened. Just a little. Make things disappear. And then he left. Silence. Gina exhaled slowly. I don't like him. Sora didn't look away from the door. I know. Another pause. I do, she added. That made Gina look at her. Not surprised. Concerned. Because that was worse. The door opened again. And this time, it was him. Juno didn't speak immediately. He just stood there, looking at her. Not like the night before. Not like a problem. Not like a stranger. Like he was trying to understand something he hadn't expected to find. Sora held his gaze. Didn't move. Didn't soften. And for a second, neither of them spoke. Because something had shifted. Not in the situation. In them. And they both knew it. Juno closed the door behind him. The sound was soft. Precise. Like everything else in this place. He didn't sit immediately. Didn't speak. He just looked at her. Long enough to make it clear. This wasn't a casual meeting. Sora held his gaze. Didn't look away. Didn't shift in her seat. She had decided something before coming here. She wasn't going to let him set the tone. Juno noticed. Of course he did. And something in him adjusted. He walked to the table. Sat across from her. Gina stayed where she was. Slightly angled. Not in the conversation. Not out of it either. Juno glanced at her once. Just once. Then back to Sora. You came. It wasn't a question. No, Sora said calmly. I returned. A beat. Not defiance. Precision. Juno's gaze didn't change. But something in the air did. Hyunwoo, leaning casually against the wall, didn't hide his reaction this time. Just a flicker. Interest. Juno ignored him. You shouldn't have had to, he said. Sora didn't blink. I didn't come to thank you. I didn't expect you to. Silence. Not empty. Measured. Sora leaned forward slightly. My debt. It's gone. I didn't agree to that. You didn't have to. Her jaw tightened. I decide what I owe. Juno's eyes didn't leave hers. No, he said quietly. You decide what you do next. Pause. That landed. Gina shifted slightly. Not intervening. Just present. Sora let the silence sit. Then. I'm paying you back. Juno didn't react immediately. Not surprised. Not impressed. Just watching. You don't have to. I know. Then don't. No. Another pause. Longer this time. Because this wasn't about money. It never had been. Juno leaned back slightly, studying her. Not like a creditor. Not like a man in control. Like he was trying to understand something that didn't fit. You think this is about pride? Sora met his gaze. It is. No. A beat. It's about distance. Silence. She didn't respond. Because part of her knew he wasn't wrong. And she didn't like that. I'm not keeping anything from you, he added. That's exactly the problem. That one. He felt. Barely visible. But real. Hyunwoo looked down, smiling to himself. Junho ignored it. What do you want? He asked. Clear. Direct. No layers. Sora didn't hesitate. Something I can earn. He watched her for a second longer, then nodded. What? Decision made. Fine. Gina's eyes moved to him. Sure. Careful. What kind of work? She asked. Junho didn't look at her. Nothing that puts her at risk. Gina didn't relax. Define risk. Hyunwoo let out a quiet breath. Amused. Junho's voice stayed level. Nothing she wouldn't walk into on her own. That wasn't reassuring. Not to Gina. But Sora didn't react. She was watching him. Not his words. Him. Say it, she said. Pause. Junho held her gaze. There's a boy. Silence. He's falling behind. Another beat. School. Sora blinked. What? That wasn't what she expected. His father works for me, Junho continued. He's not equipped to help him. That was a careful choice of words. Sora understood anyway. Gina did too. Neither said it out loud. What do you need? Sora asked. Junho didn't hesitate this time. 2 evenings a week. Pause. In my offices. Gina's head turned sharply. No. Immediate. Clear. Sora didn't look at her. Junho did. Briefly. Then back to Sora. I'm not sending you somewhere else. That's not the issue, Gina said. It is for me. Silence. Junho's tone didn't change. If you're here, I know where you are. Gina stared at him. That. She understood. Didn't like it, but understood it. Sora exhaled slowly, thinking. Not about the risk. About the balance. About what this meant. Fine, she said. Gina turned to her. Sora. It's tutoring, Sora said quietly. It's controlled. It's his space. I know. Pause. I'm not going there alone. Gina held her gaze. Long enough to make sure. Of course you're not. Junho watched the exchange. Didn't interrupt. Didn't push. Because something had already shifted. This wasn't a negotiation anymore. It was an arrangement. Sora stood. Decision made. When do I start? Junho didn't answer immediately. Not because he didn't know. Because he hadn't expected her to say yes. Not like that. Not without hesitation. Tomorrow, he said finally. Sora nodded. Simple. Gina was already standing. Hyunwoo moved to open the door. Of course he did. But as Sora passed Junho, she paused. Just for a second. Not long enough for anyone else to notice. Long enough for him. I'm not doing this for you, she said quietly. Junho didn't look away. I know. A beat. That's why you are. She held his gaze for half a second longer. Then she walked out. Gina right behind her. The door closed. Soft. Precise. Again. Silence settled back into the room. Hyunwoo let out a breath. Well, he said lightly. That's new. Junho didn't answer. He was still looking at the door. Like something had just left. That he wasn't sure he could get back. And that was the first problem. He hadn't planned for. The office was quieter at night. Not empty. Just contained. The kind of silence that didn't invite you in. Watched you. Sora noticed it the moment she stepped inside. The lights were lower. Warmer. But the space still felt controlled. Measured. Nothing here existed by accident. Gina walked in first. Of course she did. She didn't look impressed. She looked alert. Second floor, the receptionist said. No smile. Just information. They took the elevator. No music. Just the soft hum of something expensive. Gina glanced at the panel. Then at the camera in the corner. Then at Sora. You still sure about this? Sora nodded. I said I would. The doors opened. The room wasn't what she expected. No long table. No formal setup. Just a smaller space. A desk. 2 chairs. A bookshelf. And a boy. He looked up when they walked in. Then immediately looked back down. 13. Maybe 14. Too old to look that uncertain. Sora softened instantly. She always did. "Hi," she said gently. No pressure. No expectation. He didn't answer. Gina stayed near the door. Not sitting. Not relaxed. Watching everything. Sora pulled out her bag. Markers. Notebook. The same one she used at school. "I'm Sora." Pause. "You can ignore me for 5 minutes if you want." That made him look up. Just for a second. She smiled. "Not too much. Just enough. After that, I'm going to ask you something anyway." A beat. "Fine," he muttered. It wasn't agreement, but it was something. Sora sat across from him. Didn't rush. Didn't push. "What's the worst subject?" Silence. She waited. "Math," he said finally. "Good," she replied. He frowned. "That means we know where to start." She slid a sheet toward him. Didn't explain. Didn't lecture. "Show me how you do it." He hesitated. Then tried. Wrong. But not empty. Sora watched. Not the mistake. The logic. "Okay," she said softly. "I see what you did. No judgment. Let's fix just this part." She circled one line. Not the whole page. Just one. He leaned in. Without realizing it. Gina noticed. She didn't move. But something in her posture eased. Behind the glass. Juno stood. He wasn't supposed to be there. Not really. But he was. Watching. Not the boy. Her. The way she leaned forward. The way she spoke. The way she made something difficult smaller. He had seen people handle problems before. Solve them. Control them. And them. He had never seen someone stay. The boy asked a question. Quiet. Almost reluctant. Sora answered. Without hesitation. And then. Something shifted. Small. Almost invisible. But real. He tried again. Better. Sora didn't praise him. Didn't exaggerate. "Yeah," she said simply. "That works." That was enough. Juno felt something in his chest. Sure. Unexpected. Not pride. Recognition. Hyunwoo stepped beside him. Silent. Of course he had noticed. "You're watching again." Juno didn't answer. Hyunwoo followed his gaze. "She's good." Pause. With him. Juno's eyes didn't move. "Yes." Hyunwoo glanced at him. Just briefly. "That's not what I meant." Juno didn't respond. Because he understood. And he didn't want to. Inside the room. Sora pushed the paper back. "Try the next one." The boy didn't argue this time. Gina crossed her arms. Still cautious. Still present. But she wasn't ready to leave. Not yet. And that said more than anything. The session ended quietly. No big moment. No breakthrough speech. Just progress. The boy packed his things. Slower than before. He hesitated. Then, "Thanks." Barely audible. Sora nodded. Like it was normal. Like it mattered. Because it did. He left. The room felt different. Less tense. More human. Sora stood. Gathered her things. Gina stepped closer. Low voice. "He's not what I expected." Sora didn't ask who. She knew. "Neither are you," Gina added. A beat. Sora almost smiled. Outside. Juno was already there. Of course he was. He didn't speak immediately. He looked at her. Not assessing. Not calculating. Something else. "You'll come back." Not a question. Sora adjusted the strap of her bag. "I said I would." Pause. "Don't change the reason," she added. Juno held her gaze. "I won't." He meant it. That was the problem. Sora turned. Gina with her. They walked away. And for the first time, Juno didn't think about the debt. Or the deal. Or the outcome. He thought about the way she stayed. And how quickly that had started to matter. 3 weeks later in her apartment, Sora stood in front of her mirror. This wasn't a date. Not even a choice. She was supposed to be his +1 to the wedding of one of his subordinate. She convinced herself she was only going out of obligation. Absolutely not because she was looking forward to each of their meetings and thinking about him more than she should. She opened her wardrobe. Paused. Then reached for something she hadn't touched in months. White silk. A wide-leg jumpsuit. Fluid. Structured. The neckline crossed over her chest, like a hanbok. Clean. Deliberate. A red silk band wrapped just beneath her chest. Simple. Precise. She had bought it from a small designer in Seongsu. Too expensive. Too intentional. She had never worn it. Until now. She stepped into it. The fabric settled instantly. Like it belonged there. She adjusted the wrap once. Then stopped. Good enough. Then. Her hair. High chignon. Clean. Controlled. But two loose strands framed her face. She didn't fix them. She leaned closer to the mirror. No makeup. No effort. Except one thing. Red lipstick. Sure. Vivid. She hesitated. Just a second. Then finished it. Stepped back. Looked at herself. And for a moment, she didn't recognize the reason. Gina leaned against the doorframe. Watching. You're fixing your hair. I always fix my hair. No. A beat. Not like that. Silence. Sora grabbed her bag. I'm going because I said I would. Gina nodded. I know. Pause. That's not what I'm talking about. The venue? Quiet. Controlled. Not a wedding. A system. Sora felt it before she understood it. The way people moved. The way conversations never got too loud. The way no one stood with their back exposed for too long. Gina noticed everything. Of course she did. Her gaze moved constantly. Doors. Angles. Hands. She wasn't impressed. She was measuring. Junho saw Sora. And for the first time that night, he didn't look away quickly. He let himself look. Fully. The white silk. The clean lines. The red at her waist. The red on her lips. The way she didn't try to soften any of it. That. He recognized. Not beauty. Control. Choice. And something in his chest tightened. Hyunwoo leaned slightly toward him. You're staring. Junho didn't respond. You're not even pretending not to. Still nothing. Hyunwoo followed his gaze. Then smiled. Slowly. Ah. A beat. That explains a lot. Junho finally shifted his attention. Briefly. What? Hyunwoo didn't look at him. She didn't dress for the room. Silence. She dressed knowing you'd be in it. Junho's jaw tightened. That's not what this is. Hyunwoo let out a quiet breath. That's exactly what this is. Sora felt his presence before he reached her. Not the movement. The shift. Like the air had adjusted. You came. She turned. Held his gaze. You said you needed me. Pause. He looked at her again. Closer this time. You look. He stopped. Because saying beautiful would have been easy. And wrong. Intentional. That landed. Because it was true. And because she hadn't wanted it to be. I'm here for what you asked, she said. Too clean. Too controlled. He heard the correction. He didn't push. Because she was already holding the line. Gina stepped slightly closer. Not between them. Close enough. I'll be right here, she said quietly. Not to Sora. To him. Junho met her gaze. For the first time. Properly. Not dismissing. Not ignoring. Assessing. He gave the smallest nod. Acknowledgement. Nothing more. That. Gina noticed. And didn't trust. The music shifted. Soft. Slow. Unavoidable. Not an invitation. A transition. Junho extended his hand. Not fully. Not insistently. Just enough. Come. Not may I. Not would you. Sora looked at his hand. Then at him. Then at the space between them. Gina didn't move. Didn't stop her. That was trust. And warning. At the same time. Sora placed her hand in his. Warm. Steady. Too aware. His fingers closed around hers. Not tight. Not loose. Exact. And that was worse. Because there was no hesitation in it. They didn't go to the center. They didn't need to. The space adjusted around them. Like people understood without looking. His hand moved to her waist. Stopped. Just above the red band. Pause. A question. She felt it. The choice. She didn't step back. So he settled there. Firm. Controlled. Not claiming. not asking any more either. Her hand rested on his shoulder. Light, measured, not holding him, not pushing him away, balancing. They moved, not dancing, not really, adjusting, learning where the other ended, and where they didn't. You don't dance, she said quietly. You don't either. A beat. That's not why we're here. She felt that. Of course she did. What is it then? Juno didn't answer immediately. His thumb shifted slightly, against the fabric at her waist. Barely there. But she felt it. To see if you'd leave. Sora met his gaze. I didn't. I noticed. Silence. Not empty. Heavy. The distance between them changed. Not suddenly. Not visibly. But completely. Sora became aware of everything at once. The heat of his hand. The way her breath wasn't steady anymore. The fact that she hadn't stepped back. That she wasn't stepping back. You shouldn't trust me, he said. I don't. Then why are you still here? That. She didn't answer. Because the answer wasn't something she could say out loud. Across the room, Gina hadn't moved. Not once. Her arms were crossed. Her eyes locked on them. Hyunwoo stood beside her. Too relaxed. You're very focused, he said lightly. I'm very aware. That's different. No. A beat. It's not. Hyunwoo smiled. Slow. You don't like him. Gina didn't look at him. No. Silence. I understand him. That made him glance at her. Because that was worse. Back to them. Juno's gaze dropped. Not by accident. Her lips. The red. He stayed there. Longer than he should have. Sora felt it. Immediately. You're doing that again, she whispered. Doing what? Looking at me like that. Silence. He didn't deny it. I know. That shifted something. Because he wasn't hiding it. He wasn't correcting it. He was letting it happen. You should stop. She said it. Soft. Controlled. Not convincing. He didn't move. Neither did she. His hand pressed slightly more firmly at her waist. Not force. Anchor. Her body reacted before she did. Closer. Just a fraction. Enough. Her fingers tightened against his shoulder. Then, slid. Down. Not intentionally. Not completely. But enough that she felt the difference. The fabric. The warmth. The solidity beneath. She should have corrected it. She didn't. Juno leaned in. Closer. Not touching. Not yet. But the distance was gone. She felt his breath. Warm. Steady. Too close. This was where it stopped. It should have. She knew it. He knew it. And neither of them moved. You don't feel like a mistake, he said quietly. That broke the last layer. Because she should have pulled away. Immediately. She didn't. Her hand pressed flat against his chest now. Fully. No ambiguity. She felt his heartbeat. Still controlled. Still steady. Unlike hers. You should stop, she said again. But this time. Her voice dropped. And her body didn't follow. Their foreheads almost touched. Almost. Close enough that the space between them meant something. Not enough that it was gone. Not yet. Sora closed her eyes. Just for a second. And in that second, everything became clear. What he was. What she was doing. What this would cost. And how it would end. She opened her eyes again. He was still there. Still watching. Still not stepping back. And for the first time, she didn't pretend she didn't understand. Her fingers curled slightly against him. Not pulling him closer. Not pushing him away. Holding. Deciding. And that was the moment. Right before everything crossed the line.